The episode Frankie and Beach is entirely dedicated to the monster characters, not feeling like a Sabrina story as a result. Sabrina advises a female monster to get a cake to Hilda to make up with her, and Frankie somehow manages to mess up, bring her the cake. So cake gets magically thrown in her face from over the phone, and Frankie tells Sabrina that it's his fault for being clumsy. At least he has self-awareness. Then Sabrina tells Frankie to ask Drac if he needs help, so he pushes his car without giving him the chance to release the safety brake, and pushes him up a road hill, and it lands on the train tracks and he has to push it again. Then Sabrina tells Frankie to help do the vacuuming in Horrible Hole while she does the dusting she promised to do. And he vacuums up the bandages of the mummy, so Sabrina magically undoes it, but her magic doesn't fully work right. A spider tells Sabrina that Frankie ran away, so Sabrina uses magic to go to him when he's sulking, and she tells him to look into a crystal bowl, where his friends say they're wondering where he is and hope he's okay. Frankie's smart enough to accuse Sabrina of just doing another one of her magic tricks to fool him. That could be true for all he knows. Why was there a magic tornado? Frankie saves her life when it gets landed on, and the arbitrary twister gets headed for Horrible Hole, and Frankie saves it from it. Why was the twister created? It should be explained that Sabrina created it to make Frankie feel better by saving the day from it. Then she'd be competent. Instead, I guess the twister was only created because when she uses magic around the ghoulies, strange things happen. Which just feels arbitrary, but I guess it makes as much sense as potion ingredients. And then Frankie's dumb enough to consider going to the beach. And Sabrina dumbly tells the monsters that they're all invited to the beach. This kind of plot with the ghoulies is always predictable and pointless to write everything about. It's just gonna be a story where the monsters have unfunny dialogue, and their mere appearances scare and confuse the characters, and Reggie will waste our time trying to prove they're monsters. I actually watched the monster episodes twice, once without skipping past the monsters' dialogue. Frankie's mere appearance makes Sabrina's friends think that he's a sea monster, so Sabrina has to use magic to summon fog to hide him. It wastes the whole plot with stuff like this. Sabrina makes Reggie talk in reverse so he can't warn his friends about the monsters, just for them to scream at seeing them anyways when Frankie asks for his volleyball back. And Sabrina magically creates a Monster Mania billboard to make people think the monsters are just advertising a movie, and some mean crosstown boys arbitrarily bury Sabrina's friends with shovels and eat their lunch and leave trash on the beach. And eventually, Sabrina gets the monsters' help bothering the bad guys while wearing masks to look like her friends. That way, they end up freaking out because of them. It was satisfying to see that. And Betty and Veronica congratulate Sabrina's friends on standing up to the bad guys, who end up agreeing to clean up the trash they spilled. Tragic magic. I don't know why this story title is used so much in the series. Sabrina says it's farewell to sports at high school because there's a money problem. I feel like this would never happen in real life. But I guess it makes sense that they'd have a money problem because they spent all their money on the giant school computer we saw once. I really hate sports. I'm guessing this is all gonna be a waste of time because this problem will get undone by the end of the episode. The coach is sad about making a speech as he's gonna get let go. Sabrina cries, feeling sorry for him. And I wish I knew why the school had so little money so that the plot wouldn't feel forced. Sabrina decides that they should raise money for the school. It's a good thing I saw the coach being sad, because now I care about Sabrina's goal, because I don't want him to be fired. Jughead throws a red smoke pellet he somehow got, and tells Moose to activate the trapdoor when he'll do that. I guess all of the magic tricks in this episode aren't done anymore, because TV explains how all of them are done. Predictably, Moose screwed up, and sends Jughead into a trapdoor in front of everyone. Wait, it'd be amusing if the magic show still made enough money because the audience found it hilarious how everyone was screwing up. Sabrina keeps making unacceptable mistakes with magic when trying to summon a top hat. Oh no. Oh wait, it's not monsters, it's sunspots. I guess the 90s comic got the whole sunspots clouded the magic of the witches in the 60s things from this show. That's the only reason I remotely respect this plot hole. Logically, she'd just stop using magic at this point. Jughead gets pulled into the hat, and Moose puts curtains over him. Jughead says he'll levitate a girl, and simply lifts Betty while she's on some wheels. Sabrina uses magic so that the bandage on his hat blinds him, which people laugh from. I bet he's actually levitating inside from the thing below her head. It gets sent away and crashes. At least I don't know exactly how magic will screw up, so this is engaging to watch. Some people try to throw stuff at Jughead because they're mean, and he pulls an elephant out of a hat. I have a big smile at that. Magic is way too obvious here, as it doesn't crush Jughead and it floats in midair. Good thing people have the magic show thing as an explanation. Then Weatherby tells the audience they can get a refund at the box office, but predictably, someone says this was the funniest magic show ever. So they want more of Jughead, even though they wanted to throw stuff at him a second ago. So the coach gets his job back. Go figure. Jughead earned enough to pay his entire year's salary. It's so refreshing to see the coach like this instead of angry and stern as usual. This story, go figure, had the characters earn the money so that their school wouldn't get rid of the sports from it. I'm pretty sure gym class is mandatory in school, so it won't be cut. No matter how much I would have liked it to be when I went to school, so this just teases me with the version of reality I wish was real. It is refreshing that after they decide to put on a magic show to raise money, somehow sunspots cause Sabrina's magic to screw up. So the plot's more exciting because you never know what spells she'll accidentally cast next. And I liked that the audience really did love the show for being funny, because Jughead was incompetent. A nose for news. Sabrina says people lost freedom of the press at Riverdale. Weatherby arbitrarily chooses Reggie to be editor of the school newspaper. Well, this plot's an idiot plot. He hates Reggie. So this would never happen. Isn't this a cliche plot? I already saw this in the 90s comic. And it's not like all of Riverdale lost freedom of the press if it's just a school newspaper. Reggie overhears Archie complaining and writes down Archie's real name. So he tells him to wash his car every Saturday so that he won't tell everyone. I have a question. Why doesn't Sabrina immediately brainwash him into quitting the school newspaper? Or at least not telling everyone his real name. This story sucks in the writing department. But I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. Reggie takes a picture of Ethel and says that if she offers to mow the lawn, then he won't tell people about the sordid story he just heard from her. And Reggie blackmails Veronica as well. Dilton works out a math formula that can't fail and somehow trusts Moose to hit a mark with his ex when he's incompetent. He surprisingly does it properly, because it's an athletic thing. He pole vaulted on it. And Dilton says with this formula they'll beat Shady's side in sports. Reggie says that he won't tell anyone about it if Dilton does his math homework. He is being smart. Everyone already hates him, so he might as well do this. We see Veronica doing the hedge clipping, Moose spills paint, and somehow puts up with Reggie when I thought he was just a violent bully. I suppose it is creative that it's not Moose, the generic bully character, doing this to everybody, and instead it's Reggie. And you'd think Moose would be the one doing it because he's all big and athletic. Then Hilda tells Sabrina to finish the housework while she's shopping in town instead of zapping stuff up for some reason. Reggie wants to dig up dirt on Sabrina. He reacts as if he's never seen Hilda before wearing a witch costume. She gets rid of the window frame and flies out of there with a broom. Who cares that he gets it on film? It's obvious that he'll be prevented from revealing the truth anyways. Sabrina uses magic so that the sink will clean itself and the dusting will do itself. Why doesn't Reggie realize that a witch like this can just use magic against them instead of letting his photographic evidence continue to exist? She uses magic so that Salem plays the piano with his tail, and when a flower pot breaks, she fixes it. Sabrina turns Salem into a horse wanting to ride a horse. I hope Sabrina hears Reggie. She did, and he should have known better than to talk around her. She plans to see Reggie make a donkey out of himself, in her words. He should have just shown everyone the developed film first, and then told them what it was. Instead, predictably the photos are magically altered to remove any evidence of magic. The show surprisingly brings back the bullshit that witches don't show up on photo. I say surprisingly because not only is it episodic, but there's already been an episode before this where they discarded the idea. Apparently this takes place in the same parallel universe as You Ought to Be in the Pictures. Reggie says he's been under a lot of strain and decides to retire as editor because he thinks he was hallucinating. Why did Salem whinny like a donkey as a cat? There's been plenty of episodes where he's known that Sabrina was a witch. Why would he think he was hallucinating all of that? This story surprised me because Reggie didn't print any of the stories he could have printed as a newspaper editor, and instead he merely threatened to do it to get people to do his chores. So that's a different plot from the 90s comic. I always wanted to see what would happen next. What Reggie did would be less annoying if it was only Veronica that he bothered. Then Sabrina cleverly tricks him, so he retires, which logically would have happened instantly. Sabrina would have instantly brainwashed him into deciding to not be the newspaper editor. Why is almost every story in this show contrived? I don't remember the comic having nearly as bad a track record as this. I'd say these two were good episodes, by the standards of this show. The next two episodes are irritating because the monster characters are in them. They have so much dialogue in them from the monster characters that on the first try, I just kept skipping past the episode over and over again and didn't know what was happening in it. Even the next two episodes involved those characters. So on the first try, I didn't feel like typing about everything that happened in them. In the episode called Ouch, after Mummy turns off Hilda's loud record because they wish she would turn it down, she curses them so that music would blare from his mouth. So that's an episode that has no excuse for happening because Sabrina would have just instantly undone the spell on him. But somehow, she takes forever to undo it because she has to remember the magic words. And Hilda just ends up magically hitting him with a baseball bat to teach him a lesson and making him walk around making noise. The cop hears a motorcycle alarm, and Sabrina has to magically summon a motorcycle under Mummy to hide magic. I just find the monsters insanely boring and annoying. Why should I care when they ruin the entire plot with a story that has no creativity? Because it doesn't take any talent to come up with monsters freak out the mortals just because of their looks, again. Reggie sees a mummy walk around on the road, and wastes my time telling Weatherby to meet him for proof of magic, and Sabrina foils them, again. The comic repeated a lot of plot points too, but it was more entertaining to me. It's very rare that it got boring because its pacing was a lot faster. And in Smog, while Sabrina's babysitting, Ratso and Batso cause Smog to pour out a horrible hole, so the Archies arrive to investigate. Again, Sabrina would just instantly undo that problem with magic, so no excuse for an entire episode being about that either. Sabrina would have instantly brainwashed her friends into not investigating all of Horrible Hole, so there's no excuse for the plot happening. And Reggie would have instantly shown his friends the family portrait of Sabrina with the monsters, not giving her a chance to use magic. And she gets away with telling her friends that her cousins are wearing costumes and they believe it. Why didn't they think that in the first place if they could believe this so easily? Then there's Dirty Pool. And the next two episodes are also mainly monster-focused episodes, so I don't feel like talking about them in depth either. Stories like this, I actually had to watch in fast forward when I finally decided to motivate myself to watch them. It was hard to motivate myself to care about them, because they don't feel like Sabrina's stories, they feel like another franchise that Sabrina happens to cameo in. In Dirty Pool, Sabrina and the Ghoulies take a stand when the Crosstown High boys pollute the water supply they are fishing in with their car wash business. Sabrina would just use magic to instantly undo that problem, brainwash them into being opposed to doing that. Eventually she does brainwash them into cleaning up their litter, but there's no reason she wouldn't just do that right away. At one point it's frustrating that the birds in a tree falsely accuse Sabrina of causing the water pollution. There's nothing else to say. The problem with these monster-focused episodes is that it's a very simple plot, so most of the episode is just wasted on their unfunny dialogue with annoying voices. So there's really nothing for me to talk about, analysis-wise. And then there's the great outdoors. The Ghoulies and Archie each go camping and discover that the Crosstown High boys have been destroying the forest and erecting a racetrack. Again, Sabrina would just instantly brainwash them into not doing that. Instead, she summons Smog in front of them, and they crash into the Ghoulies' car. But somehow, instead of them going to the hospital and not being in the rest of the episode, they continue being a problem, wrecking the forest. And then she needs to make their motorcycles act silly and spray white goop at the audience in the racetrack, and they run away from the monsters. Episodes like that are just mostly padded out by the monster characters who have most of the focus talking, while Sabrina just stands there. There's really nothing to say about them. I feel like if I was typing most of the time I was seeing these episodes, I would mostly just be describing what they were saying. It's a shame that this is the last episode of the show. I like the show, I suppose, but not when the monster characters are in it.